Late night. The home office was silent, except for the hum of the computer. Stephen Mercer, 72, retired FBI agent, sat staring at a hidden forum page.
Most of these posts were just noise. Desperate people blowing off steam.
But this one was different. I need someone who handles permanent solutions. Stephen leaned forward. The wording was precise. He'd seen similar posts recently, all tied to the same financial desperation. He replied in code. Within minutes, a name and address arrived.
Donald Reeves. 419 Oak Valley Lane, Donny. The person who wants him dead has to be his daughter, Sharon.
Stephen's hand moved to his breast pocket, touching his old badge. Duty and friendship collided.
If I let this go, he dies. If I stop it, she goes to prison. There's no clean path.
He picked up his secure phone. The meeting would happen. He'd gather every piece of evidence. And then the choice would come. 3 miles away, Donald Reeves watered his tomatoes at dusk. At 72, his life was a quiet rhythm of books, gardening, and solitude.
Sharon used to call every Sunday. Now, it's been months. She's probably just busy with work.
In a cluttered apartment across town, Sharon Reeves was not busy. She was terrified. Unpaid bills covered every surface.
I just need another week. You'll get your money. I swear.
The casino floors had swallowed over $600,000. Every loan only dug the hole deeper.
I can't ask Dad. He'd never look at me the same way. The only way out is permanent.
A poker contact gave her the address. A hidden forum where people arranged things that couldn't be spoken aloud.
This is insane. But one message and it's done. No more threats, no more fear.
She typed, "I need someone who handles permanent solutions." And then she clicked send. She had no idea who was on the other end, or that she had just handed a loaded gun to the one man who could never fire it. Stephen placed the call to his handler before he could change his mind. He explained the situation without emotion. She told him to proceed.
Every step from here is betrayal, but letting her succeed would be worse.
2 nights later, he drove to the parking garage on Linwood. The place smelled of damp concrete and exhaust.
There she was, the little girl I taught to ride a bike. Now she's here to buy a murder.
You said you could help me. Here's the first half. 35,000.
And the photos?
Everything you need. His routine, his house. Please, just make it quick. He won't suffer.
She's asking for her own father to die painlessly, as if that makes it humane.
The recorder in his jacket captured every word. When Sharon left, Stephen sat in his car for 20 minutes, staring at the cash. The evidence was airtight. Now came the impossible part, telling Donald. Stephen walked up Donald's porch steps that evening, a bottle of bourbon in hand. He didn't ring the bell. He let himself in, as he had for 40 years.
Donnie, pour us a drink. I need to talk, and you are going to want that glass full.
Stephen never shows up without calling, and he's never looked at me like that.
The bourbon glasses were filled. Stephen placed a thick envelope on the table. His voice was steady, but his hand trembled slightly.
2 nights ago, your daughter Sharon met with a hitman. She paid $35,000. She gave him photographs of this house.
Donald didn't move. The ice in his glass settled. 10 minutes of silence stretched between them.
Did she have any other choice that she didn't take?
Yes, 3. She could have asked you for help. She could have declared bankruptcy. She could have come clean to the loan sharks and faced it.
Donald looked at the envelope. The weight of what his daughter had done settled over him like a second skin. Sharon was still free, still oblivious. But in that room, her father had already begun to grieve. The next morning, Stephen drove to the task force office, the envelope of evidence heavy on the passenger seat.
I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard her voice saying, "Make it quick."
By noon, he found himself outside his son's house, watching his grandchildren through the fence. Liam and Emma chased each other across the lawn, their laughter a foreign sound in his ears.
They're all that's left of her. If this goes forward, they lose their mother. But what kind of mother does this?
That afternoon, he sat in his lawyer's office. He asked the one question that mattered. The lawyer's reply was blunt. Any warning would make him an accomplice. No clean way out. Meanwhile, Stephen handed the cash, the photos, and the recorder to the task force lead. The case would go live by nightfall, at home. Donald turned Sharon's photograph face down on his desk. He didn't look at it again. Somewhere across town, an arrest warrant was being drafted. Donald's choice was now measured in hours. 48 hours. That's what the text message said. A blunt warning from a blocked number she knew too well.
It's not enough time. Why haven't you done anything yet?
She'd paid $35,000 for a promise, and the promise was taking too long.
The forum. I'll send another message. Make it clear I need this done now.
At 2:17 a.m., a new post lit up the hidden thread. Need completion within 72 hours. Payment plus bonus for fast delivery.
Faster. If I don't act, she's going to force the wrong person's hand and end up in a ditch before the trial.
Stephen called his handler immediately. The tone of his voice made it clear. They were out of time.
The sharks are circling. If we don't pick her up tonight, she might not see a cell at all. Move the timeline up.
By dawn, the arrest had been fast-tracked. A tactical team was assembling for the morning.
I'll finally be free. No more threats. No more hiding.
That night, Donald sat in his study, surrounded by a lifetime of achievements that suddenly meant nothing.
One word from me, and they don't move. My daughter goes to prison, but I keep my integrity. Or I make the call and become her accomplice.
He reached for the phone, then stopped. Instead, he drove to Stephen's house without calling ahead.
I need to know, Stephen, as her father. Is there any way this doesn't destroy her?
Donnie, if you warn her, you are obstructing a federal case. You'll face charges, and I won't be able to protect you.
And if I don't, they'll arrest her like an animal.
She tried to have you killed. She gave me money and photographs. She only reached out again tonight to speed it up.
Donald turned and walked to the edge of the porch, staring into the night. The silence stretched.
I taught her to ride a bike in this driveway. How did it come to this?
He didn't make the call. The arrest would proceed. Donald drove home with a weight in his chest that would never fully lift. The evening before the raid, Donald drove back across town. He parked a block from Sharon's apartment and killed the lights.
I just need to see her. One last time, before they take everything.
Through her thin curtains, he watched her shadow move, making tea, staring at her phone. He sat there for 58 minutes, the dashboard clock ticking like a metronome.
I could knock. Tell her to run. It's not too late to be her father.
His fingers curled around the door handle. Then, very slowly, they uncurled. He drove away, without looking back. The streets were quiet, as if the world held its breath. At 4 a.m., an unmarked van rolled to a stop in the same spot. FBI agents in dark jackets checked their earpieces and reviewed the floor plan. Sharon's light was still on. The commander gave a single nod. The next sound Sharon would hear was the front door splintering. The front door crashed inward with a single kick. 6 agents in dark FBI jackets flooded the apartment, their shouts cutting the early morning silence. Sharon stumbled backward, knocking her mug off the counter. It shattered, the noise lost in the chaos. Her hands came up instinctively.
This is a dream. This has to be a dream.
Her eyes swept the room and froze on a figure by the refrigerator. Stephen Mercer in a dark suit, his hands clasped behind his back, watching her.
Uncle Stephen.
He gave no sign of recognition. The man who'd been at her 10th birthday party was now just a stranger collecting evidence. An agent twisted her arms behind her back and secured the handcuffs. The click was deafening. Donald sat in his living room, the television flickering. Breaking news. Local woman arrested for solicitation of murder.
I chose this. I chose to let them take her.
The live footage showed Sharon being pushed into an FBI vehicle. Her apartment door hung splintered behind the scene. She never looked up. 3 days after the arrest, Stephen returned with a briefcase. No bourbon, just a thick folder. He placed a digital recorder on the coffee table. Donald stared at its blinking red light like it was a live grenade.
You need to hear it, Donnie. Not just know it.
The recording crackled, and Sharon's voice filled the room. Flat, businesslike, as if ordering a caterer. She described his morning walk, the gap in the hedge, the exact time the sprinkler turned on. When she said, "Make it quick, he won't suffer," Donald's hand flew to his mouth, and let's look to his mouth. Stephen then placed the photographs on the table. Glossy prints of Donald's house, taken by his daughter. Donald picked one up, his front door, framed from across the street, every detail sharp.
She stood there and took this. She was already measuring the distance to the door.
The dam broke. For the first time in decades, Donald Reeves put his head in his hands and wept. Within a week, Sharon's defense attorney visited her in the county jail. The strategy was already forming. Entrapment, duress, a daughter manipulated by loan sharks.
They'll believe I was scared. I never would have done it if I wasn't backed into a corner.
The lawyer nodded, but his pen tapped nervously against the table. The evidence didn't flinch. Meanwhile, the story leaked. News vans camped outside Donald's quiet street. Headlines screamed about the heiress who tried to hurry her inheritance. Donald stopped reading the papers. He unplugged the television. But the story found him anyway. At his son's house, Liam and Emma watched the news on a tablet. They saw their mother in handcuffs.
Grandpa, why is Mommy on the news? Why are people calling her bad things?
Donald had no answer that wouldn't shatter them. He just pulled them close and held on. The trial date was set. Donald was subpoenaed as a material witness. He would have to sit in that courtroom and face her. The quiet man who'd built an empire couldn't build a wall high enough to block out what was coming. The courtroom was packed on the first day. Journalists, lawyers, and one silver-haired man in the third row. The prosecutor stood first, laying out the cold arithmetic, a paid hit, $35,000 cash, and glossy photos taken by his own daughter. The defense painted a different picture. A terrified mother, manipulated by loan sharks, who never really intended to follow through.
She's lying. I heard her voice. She meant every cold syllable.
Then the state called its first witness. A burly man with a neck tattoo, the loan shark's enforcer. He admitted the threats, the escalating pressure. But even he seemed unsettled when asked about the contract on Donald's life.
That man pushed her to the edge, but she chose to jump.
Sharon kept her head down, but her shoulders trembled. Her lawyer passed her a tissue. The prosecution called up bank records, text messages, the forum post. Each exhibit felt like another nail.
This trial will not heal anything. It will only show the world how deep the rot went.
The prosecution called its final witness. Stephen Mercer walked to the stand, his face unreadable, the same man who'd been at every family barbecue.
She was very specific. She described his morning walk, the gap in the hedge, the exact time the sprinkler turned on.
Then the prosecutor asked the question that stopped every breath in the room.
She had 3 other choices. She could have told her father the truth. She could have declared bankruptcy. She could have asked for help. She chose none of them.
In the third row, Donald closed his eyes. The words fell like a verdict before the verdict.
He made me sound like a monster. But I handed him the script.
The silence in that courtroom was the heaviest sound any of them had ever heard. The defense's cross-examination was brief and desperate. Nothing could undo those 3 doors left unopened. When Stephen stepped down, the jury's faces had changed. The case was no longer about debt. It was about a daughter who chose. The defense rose first, her voice tight with desperation. She begged the jury to see a mother cornered by monsters, not a cold-blooded orchestrator.
She's saying all the right things, but the jury's eyes say they aren't buying any of it.
Then the prosecution stood, calm, methodical. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He held up the photographs. He played the recording again. Then he turned to Sharon and said 4 quiet words. The judge delivered instructions. The jury filed out, and the waiting began. Donald and Stephen found a bench in the corridor. They didn't look at each other.
She's my only child, And we're waiting for strangers to decide if she tried to have me killed.
I know, but whatever they decide, we made the right call. Letting her go would have destroyed something else in you.
Hours passed. The coffee went cold. No one approached them. The jury buzzed twice. Each time, Donald's heart stopped. Each time, the bailiff shook his head. After 2 days, the buzzer rang 3 short bursts. The jury had reached a verdict. The foreman stood, paper trembling. We, the jury, find the defendant, Sharon Reeves, guilty of solicitation to commit murder.
It wasn't real until the word guilty hung in the air like smoke.
Sharon's legs gave way. Her lawyer caught her before she hit the floor, but the sob that escaped her was raw and involuntary.
There it is. My daughter is a convicted felon, and I feel nothing but a stone where my heart should be.
The judge banged his gavel, silencing the gasps. Sentencing was set for the following Tuesday. Reporters flooded the corridor. Microphones thrust forward. Donald walked through them without a word, his eyes fixed on the exit.
This is justice, but it tastes like ash.
Sharon was led away in cuffs, her head bowed. She looked back only once, searching for her father's face. He was already gone, outside. The autumn wind cut through Donald's jacket. He didn't feel it. All he could feel was the silence where a daughter used to be. Tuesday morning. The same courtroom, but colder. The judge peered over his glasses, his voice carrying the weight of law. He cited the cold calculation, the photographs, the 3 paths not taken. Then the number, 18 years in state prison.
18. I'll be 62 when I walk out. My children will be grown.
Her lawyer's hand pressed her shoulder, but she didn't feel it. She turned her head slowly toward the gallery.
She's looking for me, begging with her eyes. I have nothing left to give her.
For 3 seconds, father and daughter locked eyes. Then Donald looked away, not in anger, just in finality. The bailiffs moved. Sharon was pulled to her feet, chains clinking. She looked back twice, but the 3rd row was already empty. Donald walked out into the corridor. Stephen, a silent shadow behind him. The reporters had gone. Only the scuff of their shoes filled the hall.
She'll be an old woman when she gets out. I'll be gone.
There was nothing Stephen could say to that. The sentence was a wall now, permanently between the man and his daughter. The weeks after sentencing blurred into one long silence. Donald slept in his chair more often than his bed.
The question ate at him. Not how could she, that answer was too easy. The real question was simpler and worse.
He sat at his desk one evening and pulled out a clean sheet of paper. The pen hovered for 10 minutes.
Words on paper wouldn't be enough. He needed to hear her voice when she answered.
He called the prison and requested a visit. The soonest available slot was 3 weeks out.
One question. One visit. Then I can let this go.
The day arrived cold and gray. He drove alone, the prison growing larger with every mile. He walked through the gates, past the coiled razor wire, and into the sterile processing hall. The guard checked his ID, waved him through. A heavy door buzzed open, and the smell of disinfectant hit him.
His heart thumped as the lock clanked on the far door. He hadn't seen her in months.
The visiting room was a row of glass partitions, empty chairs, fluorescent light that buzzed faintly. Then the far door opened. Sharon walked in, her orange jumpsuit swallowing her. Her face was thinner, older.
My daughter. But the face already belongs to this place. Sharon, I need to know one thing. Not the debts. Not the threats. Just why?
Daddy, I thought you wouldn't miss me. That you'd just see it as a business loss. I was stupid and scared.
Her voice cracked, excuses spilling out like water from a broken dam. None of them filled the hole in his chest.
I love you. I always will, but I can't have you in my life. Not now. Maybe not ever.
He placed the receiver down gently, the click louder than any slam. Then he walked away. Sharon pounded the glass with her palm. The guard pulled her back. But Donald never turned around. The sun hit his face as the prison gate closed behind him. He had asked. She had answered. The door was sealed forever. The week after the visit, Donald sat in his lawyer's office, the new will waiting for his signature. The old one, the one that named Sharon, was shredded. The new paragraphs listed only Liam, Emma, and the Veterans Honor Foundation. He signed without hesitation. The pen scratched once, and a lifetime of enterprise pivoted away from blood.
You want me to be executor, Donnie, after everything, you are sure?
You are the only one I trust. You've proven that in the worst possible way.
Stephen nodded. No handshake could carry what that nod did. Later that week, Donald drove to his grandchildren's school. He watched Liam and Emma race across the playground, their laughter untouched by the ugliness.
They'll never know the full story. They'll just know their grandfather built something that will carry them.
Stephen delivered the first check to the veterans' charity himself. The director tried to thank him, but Stephen just raised his hand. Donald Reeves had settled his accounts. The money would now protect the innocent. The only inheritance Sharon would get was the weight of her choices. Months passed. The garden became his cathedral. Rows of tomatoes, peppers, and silence. One rainy afternoon, he pulled an old photo album from the shelf. Dust coated the spine.
There she is, age 6, missing her front teeth. That girl wouldn't have hurt a fly. What happened to her?
He walked the same park every Tuesday, past the fountain where she'd thrown pennies as a child. Thursdays were for Liam and Emma. He told them stories of their mother as a little girl, how she loved climbing the old oak, how she sang off-key in the car.
They'll remember her for those things, not the other. I'll make sure of it.
On a crisp November morning, he knelt at his wife's grave. He talked about the grandchildren, the garden, and the quiet house. He didn't mention Sharon, not that day. Maybe not ever again. Stephen came by less often now. But when he did, they'd sit on the porch and watch the dusk. Sometimes words weren't necessary. In the garden, the tomatoes ripened. He picked them, one by one, and didn't count what was missing. The earth didn't ask questions. An evening in late spring, Stephen's car pulled up the familiar drive. He carried the same brand of bourbon, the same weight of years.
Thought you might need a refill.
You know the way. Glasses are where they've always been.
They settled into the rocking chairs. The sky was a smear of orange and purple over the roof. For a long time, neither spoke.
Remember that base we pulled out of the lake in '89? You almost tipped the boat.
Charlie's boy, Liam, asked me to teach him to fish this summer. I said yes before he finished the sentence.
Do you regret any of it, Donnie? What you had to do?
I regret that she chose the one door she could never come back through, but I don't regret what I did with the keys.
Stephen nodded again. The bourbon was finished. The fireflies were starting. The two old friends sat on the back porch, watching the sunset, and the silence between them was the easiest thing in the world. A generation away, Emma pressed her crayons into a picture of a silver-haired man under a yellow sun. She didn't know the whole story yet. Liam practiced casting a fishing line in the backyard, mimicking the motion his grandfather had shown him. His determination was a quiet echo of the man who'd built an empire. The prison letters came, one by one, each sealed and unread. Donald filed them in the box beside his wife's old recipes.
Someday, maybe the grandchildren will want to read them, but not now. Not while he's still here.
Summer rolled into autumn. The garden beds turned brittle, then were blanketed in snow. Donald learned to let the seasons do their work without fighting them. Inheritance, he came to understand, wasn't about money or haste. It was about the things that outlived you. Character, stories, the quiet love of a child who never needed to fear your shadow. He rocked gently, a glass of sweet tea on the rail, and watched the light drain from the sky. Somewhere across the state, Sharon sat in a cell and remembered the same sky from a different angle. The distance between them was now made of choices, not miles. The porch rocker moved on its own in the evening breeze, a gentle creak marking the rhythm of a life that had accepted its scars. Donald Reeves had built a legacy not of steel, but of love, the kind that doesn't break, even when everything else does.